And now it's time to jump into the SmackDown draft. Lex, how are you feeling? Well, I'll get into that shortly. First, we gotta go down the SmackDown draft picks list. We're gonna do what we just did for Monday Night Raw. We're gonna see everyone that got drafted. I'm gonna mention them, and we're gonna kind of go over this blend of superstars that they put together, as well as the free agents, as you see on this list, in case you want to read with me. Let's start at the tippity top for SmackDown. So we got the bloodline showing up and showing out, all right? We got Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Paul Heyman, and we'll see them later in the list, but the Usos are there as well. And then you got Bianca Belair, the Street Profits, Edge, which I was really surprised that they moved Edge from Raw to SmackDown, Bobby Lashley, AJ Styles, Michin, Gallows, and Anderson, along with, AJ Styles, they form the OC. You got Damage Control. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn got called up. Hit Row is still there. Lacey Evans, Austin Theory, Charlotte Flair, the Usos, the LWO, which does include Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, and his group, as well as Selena Vega. Asuka, the Brawling Brutes, Karrion Kross, which I think Karrion Kross should have been on Raw, just my opinion. LA Knight, Shotzi, Pretty Deadly, Rick Boogs. Looking forward to seeing what they do with Rick Boogs on SmackDown. I hope he's not just a comedic act. Cameron Grimes got called up. Tamina and Grayson Waller, which comes as a pleasant surprise. Now the free agents, in case you didn't see what they said about them, free agents are superstars that could free roam between both shows. Now, the way I see it is this. They don't really have an angle for these superstars. And these superstars are good enough to compete against pretty much anybody and fit in like a shoe. Look at Omos, who's going up against Seth Rollins just because they needed to have a big match at Puerto Rico. So, ultimately, I see what they're doing with the free agents, and eventually, once they establish themselves, I'm sure at least a few of these people will end up signing to a show. But we're going to kick it off with Brock Lesnar, followed by Omos, Mustafa Ali, Dolph Ziggler, Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Elias, Von Wagner, and Zion Quinn. The free agent list is headlined by, Brock Lesnar and Omos. We'll see how everyone else falls into place. I want to see if they really use them on SmackDown, but very smart of them to kind of cover up the fact that Brock Lesnar is a part-timer and you could feature him on any given show whenever you need him most. I like that idea ultimately. So when you circle back to the SmackDown draft picks, obviously SmackDown, Fox was very adamant of keeping Roman Reigns on that show. They really, really wanted Roman, and USA Network tried their best. But, Roman, who's barely there, is a problem for the show, but the bloodline lives on through Solo Sikoa, through the Usos, which is why they needed to keep them together, at least for the time being, right? The foreseeable future, we're gonna see the bloodline going forward, and they're involved in the main storylines across WWE, so it needed to stay this way. All right, and then I really, really like that Bianca Belair got moved to SmackDown. I feel like her feuds on Raw and ultimately what she was doing there just wasn't really working for her. So we'll see how this now transition with some of the women that got called up, like Alba Fire, Isla Dawn. Even though they are a tag team, we'll see if they start using Shotzi better. Tamina, if she starts getting used at all going forward. They did bring Damage Control, which is a big stable. And, Charlotte is still there. Bianca versus Charlotte is an option going forward in the near future, in my opinion. So, the biggest thing for me when I look at the men's division is, wow, Bobby Lashley. That's a ballsy move to move Bobby from Monday Night Raw and place him on SmackDown where he cannot go for the World Championship and Roman is holding the men's division hostage, it's kind of wild in my opinion. It's kind of wild. And let's go to the comments section a little early while we continue to discuss the roster for SmackDown. I see MGM says, now look at it. SmackDown's tag division is kind of I'm assuming LWO will get a big push in the future. I agree. Anyone notice Omos, Cedric, and Shelton are all free agents? I see what you're doing there. Yeah, they could ultimately form their stable. Outside Lesnar and Omos, the rest is just to come and lose unless they're possibly trying to get the Hurt Business back together with Cedric, Shelton, and Omos. True, Jay. Now, if you looked at the list from Raw and the list from SmackDown, you will notice that Bray Wyatt is nowhere to be found. Not even in the free agents list. That's kind of concerning, but I will inform you guys, if you didn't know, Bray Wyatt has a new WWE writer to help him with his promos and story going forward. So apparently WWE is still ironing things out while Bray Wyatt is recovering from whatever his injury may be. That's all we know for now. I do see Bray Wyatt getting involved in some capacity. I just don't know what roster he's going to belong to. He is a massive free agent, whether they have him listed there or not. In real life, we all know that he is not on either show, so he is really a free agent. And what they do with him is going to be very, very interesting, considering that he didn't do much since returning to WWE. Alexa Bliss is missing, exactly. So we'll see. But going back to the list, getting AJ Styles back on SmackDown, the house that AJ Styles built with the OC, Triple H in charge, I'm thinking that the club is finally going to start looking a lot more like what we anticipated them to be at first. A version of the Bullet Club, but in WWE. And Austin Theory, as the US champ going into SmackDown, is going to constantly put on main event show after main event show with that belt being defended. I feel like the way they've treated the US title, it's good enough to be the headliner for the show. All things considered, keep in mind that SmackDown will remain on Fox for the foreseeable future, which means that a lot of people are tuning into SmackDown with over-the-air cable. Lex, what are you talking about? It's free, all right? All you got to do is have a little antenna, and anyone can watch SmackDown. So the fact that they put Roman back on there, and they featured the U.S. Championship, which has been built as like the second or third main title now with the World Championship coming back, ultimately, it puts SmackDown in a good spot to give these other superstars an opportunity. And you're right, the tag team division is a lot deeper on Raw. The tag titles are on Raw. There's not really much for SmackDown here. We'll see how they carry over the belts and if they even split it, because ultimately that's what they need to do in my most humble opinion. So after looking over the draft, I gotta be honest with you guys. I absolutely love it. I enjoyed it. I think, like I said, they did a phenomenal job bringing back recognizable faces, and they gave this draft, some actual meaning. It made sense to make it a two-night event. It wasn't just there just to be there. Triple H is finally putting his stamp all over the roster. With all the call-ups and the changes, I'm intrigued to see how WWE looks going forward after Backlash. So that's all I got for you in this segment. Hit me up, subscribe. Don't miss out on another stream or video. We got more coming. I appreciate you guys for always tuning in and supporting the channel. Let's go.